What's up, guys? It's Jamar. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to make a simple little JavaScript game. You probably, if you've seen the other one, you saw that I made a card matching game where you flip the cards and you try to match them. Well, in this game, I'm going to actually make a dot that's going to be moving across the screen, and basically, it's going to you have to basically hit the dot as many times as you can, or basically not as many times as you can, but you have to hit it 3 times to win. And if you miss it about a certain number of times, then you lose. So it's a very simple game, but I just feel like this is a nice way to basically practice your JavaScript. So and HTML, CSS while we're at it. So first, I'm going to use this template, HTML:5, just to get this boilerplate here. I'm gonna call this "Can't Catch Me" for the title. And then I'm going to create a few things. Now, before we do this, I wanted to use jQuery for this one because I didn't use it for the last one. So I want to bring in jQuery. So I'm gonna just Google really quickly. I'm gonna go to jQuery CDN. And I click on the first link here. You can see we have uncompressed, minified, slim, and slim minified. I'm just gonna do slim or minified for jQuery. I click on that one. You see it has a script tag. Use this to copy it. Close this and just paste that right there. Let me just put this on one line there. So this is the script tag for jQuery. And that's all we need to do. And I'll put that straight in the head. I also want to create a link for a CSS style sheet that I'm going to bring in. So I just do link like that. And I just want to say styles.css and then type text/CSS. You don't have to probably include the type. I put it there anyway. And so that's kind of like all I have in the head for the most part. And so now what I want to do is I want to um, all right. So basically, what I want to do is I want to create a div. And so for the game, it's almost like it's a single page thing. So it's like each thing is kind of in divs, and I decide to like show or hide certain things depending on like what I want to show. And so I have a pregame div, a game over div. I have a game container, which is where the actual game will be played. I simply have a div for the dot status. You'll see that in a minute. So we'll do div. Oh, sorry about that. We'll do div. And inside of here, I want to give these some IDs. So I'll say pregame. And then I'm gonna give it a style. So I'll say width 100% and margin top 3 view heights, just to give it some separation. And then I basically just want to inside of there do a H1. So I'm gonna do H1. I'm gonna say class, and you'll understand these classes in a minute. And why I'm doing it. So formatted text. ID is going to be win or lose, whether they won or lost. This is going to be empty because we're going to be using jQuery to set the text inside of there. Then I also want to do a button. And then it's going to have a style. By default, it's going to have display of block for the style. That way we can do margin auto, and it'll be in the center. So it'll be up, down, one view, height, left, right, auto. And then I can do a width of auto, just to basically just a decent size. And I want to say background color, not attachments, background color. And I'm going to set it to blue. And then we just go to another line here. Then I want the onClick to be set to a method called start game, like that. And if you want to pass the event in, we do event like that, but I'm not passing the event in. And then I want to give this a start button. And for the game over div, I simply want to give, oh, you know what? I actually put that one of those in the wrong place. I was looking at the other one. This actually shouldn't have an ID here. Sorry about that. Well, before we do that, let's actually copy this. So I'm going to copy this div here. Let's put that in your clipboard. And then I'm going to get rid of this. And then I want to actually give this one a title. This was supposed to be the title here. Can't catch me like that. Everything else though is the same. And I want this to basically just say start like that. And so now what I want to do is come down here, and then this div is going to be a game over div. This is what's shown once the game basically is over. Either whether the user won or lost. And this one's going to have the ID of win or lose and be an empty text H1. Except now this button here is going to have a different ID, and this is going to be a restart button. And then the actual text in there is going to be start over like that. And then below that, we just have another div, and this is the game container. So the game container and the dot status will be. I'll explain it when I'm done with this here. Actually, so to make more sense, I'm gonna get this ID of game container, class of game container, and then I want to do inside of there another div, and this div is gonna be the actual dot. So I'm gonna give this the ID of dot, and I'm going to give a class of dot like that. And then below there we have one more div, and this is just basically um, the dot status. You could also make this an H1 or just any kind of element. I just made this a div. So class dot status, and then I want to basically just right below that put our script tag for our JavaScript. So we'll do script, and then we'll do source, and then index.js, and then that's it. So basically, we have these two divs here, pre-game, which is before the game starts, and game over. And what these both do is just restart the game. Now, they both have different IDs because they're different buttons. And basically, you could also, like, if you wanted to use enclose itself and closing tag, you could put a value equal to start instead there. But basically, each one of these will be shown one at a time. So when the game is over, this one is shown, but the other ones aren't. But then, like, if the game is first starting, if it's first loaded onto the browser, then this one's shown. And then during the game, these two are shown together because the game container contains the dot, and then the dot status is the actual the health of the dot, as well as if you had it, the number of bad clicks you have, and stuff like that. And so these two get shown together, and these two get shown separately. So that's how this works here. So very quickly, I'm going to do a style sheet. So let's do styles.css. Remember, we already linked that one back here. Right here, we already linked it. So inside of here, I just want to simply do everything. I want to reset the margin and padding. And then we'll do box sizing, border box. And that just basically makes the width of that makes like the dimensions of the border around the HTML element included in its width and height, so that it could be calculated right, or the way we want it to. And then we'll do body, we'll do width Actually, no, we don't need to do that. I don't know why I had that there. That was because I was trying to figure out earlier why the game container wasn't covering the body, basically, but we don't need that. I forgot to get rid of that. So that game container, that's what we want to put there. It will say with 250 view heights. I tried this, excuse me. I tried this with a percentage, and it didn't really work out so well. It kind of didn't actually spread. So then I had to change it to a view height value, or maybe a pixel value, but I tried to do view heights because they're more, like, they're basically more accurate depending on the different screen sizes and densities and everything, I think. So I did a height of 100 view heights, and then background color I set to green by default. You can set this to whatever color that you want. This was just the test to make sure that it basically like worked. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this because we don't really need it here. Then I'm actually gonna do one more, and it's gonna be z index of 2, meaning that like the z index just means that it's over another element that has a z index of 1. So if you're familiar with Calc 3, like you know how you got the Cartesian coordinate system with x and y, and then you have the z um, axis. Well, that's basically like what this means. Like it's coming out at you. So a z index of 2, because it's greater than a z index of 1, any element that has a z index of 1 gets covered by the z index of 2. So the on click for the z index of 2 is registered as an over the on click for the z index of 1. If that makes any sense. And so we do dot formatted text. Then we'll do width 100%. And then we'll do height, or not height, text align. And we'll do center. And then we'll do margin top 3 view heights. Oops, this should be on a separate line there. And then I'm going to do the dot class here. Now this is going to be the class of the dot. So I give this a z index of 3 because I want it to be over the game container. Position of relative. Oops. Position relative. And then I want to do width 50 pixels. Height 50 pixels. Now I hard coded it with pixels just because I wanted the dot to be a certain size. Background color, we'll do like black by default. And then we'll do border black 1 pixel solid. And then we'll do border radius. And then we'll do, so we can do it all around, or we can do each one if we want. So we can do like 50%, 50%, 50%, 50% like that. And then we can do, if we did all around, it would just be one of those instead of 4 of them. So then we'll do top, we'll do 50%, and then we'll do left about 50%. And for the game dot, which basically is the class that's like has an animation. So instead of just, for instance, having a one that doesn't have animation here, I basically have the same thing here, but just one that has an actual animation to it so that we can animate back to it, and you'll see what I mean in a second. We'll do position or relative. Then we'll do an animation name. Basically, I just wanted to animate back to an actual circle after moving the dot, and the dot that when it moves will be more of like almost like it gets stretched out for a second, just to give it a little bit more like flair, pretty much, or something. We'll just set it to 1 second. And then we'll do animation fill mode forwards. This fill mode is important because this allows it to stay what it look, basically to make like to stay what it. How can I say this properly in English and grammar? To stay what it looks like. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you get the point. Basically, if you animate something and you don't use this, it'll go back to whatever was here, basically. But if you want it to animate and stay in the state that it is after it's done animating, then you have to include that animation fill mode forwards. And then let's do the keyframes right below that. If you notice, this is the same name here as the animation name in order to link that. And so inside of here, I want to do, you can start at 0% and then you can go to like 50% and do as many of these as you want. But I just want to just do one for 100%. And I'm just going to say width 50 pixels. So this will set it back to 50 pixels. I want to do a height of 50 pixels. And then I want to do, I'm going to set the border actually to none here because we don't even need a border. And then I'm going to do border radius. And I'm actually going to do 50% again 4 times. Or you can just do it once around the entire thing and it should still work. But just showing you can do each corner. I think it goes top left, top right, bottom left. So just to let you know about that. And plus that's how I made it with doing all 4 at once. So I figured why change it. So let's see. Dot active, which is when a dot is going to be moving. And inside of here, this is going to be position relative. And then it's going to be z index of 3. And then we're going to do animation name. Now this one's going to be, I'm going to call it moving dot. You know, pretty fitting name. Animation duration, 1 second again. And then animation fill mode to forwards. And for the keyframes here, I want to simply do 100% again. And inside of there, I just want to do width 25 pixels. Then I want to do height 75 pixels. Then I want to do border. I want to set it to none. Then I want to say border radius, and I'm just going to copy this here. And then that's it. So now I want to do one more. It's going to be the dot status, which is the dot health and the number of bad clicks the user did. And so this will be, or user health. And so basically it'll be position fixed, because I want this to be at the bottom. So it'll be bottom of 0 and right. So this will be to the bottom right. And I'm going to say width 60 view heights. And then it should be color. I'm going to set it to black for the text. And then I'll say text align center. And then I'll do, or if you want, you can even do text align actually to the end. Now I did center when I made it, but I'm gonna just move it to the end so it's like in the corner. But the only problem is if it gets moved, well, it shouldn't actually stay in one place. So yeah, I mean I can change it to end and see how that looks, and then we'll do the index of 3. That way they're both above the actual game container. You can also do z index of 2 here and it'll still work. So basically that's all of the CSS. And so now I want to do basically the nitty gritty here, and it's going to be the index.js. And so inside of here we're going to be using jQuery. So like I said, if you're not using the jQuery CDN for this one, it might be a little hard to code along. But I'm here to save the day. If you don't want to, like, for whatever reason, like, you follow along, I have all the what is the repository on GitHub for you. So I have it's called Can't Catch Me JavaScript Game. So if you want to download that and make your own twist to it, basically you can. Just go to Fentacoder. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for it. And so basically you can go there and get it and do whatever you want to it. So just letting you know about that. So we're gonna have a few variables here. And actually what I want to do, because I don't really feel like typing out some of these lists here, because it might take forever. I mean, I guess I'll type it out, whatever. Yeah, I'll type it out. So anyways, I'm gonna do var dot health. That's gonna be equal to 3. So by default, the dot health is going to be equal to 3. The interval ID, which is when we set the interval. If you're familiar with the set interval JavaScript method, when we set the interval, we want to basically grab the interval ID so that whenever we want to clear it, it'll know which one to clear. And so we'll do bad clicks, and we'll say 0. You could also say user health and set it to 10 or whatever you want. And then we'll do var current X position, and we'll set that to 250. And I'll just copy this and paste it 3 more times. And then I'm going to say current Y position. And then the new X position. And then the new Y position. And then I'm going to set it to 0. Now, one thing I'll let you know about is one thing you can figure out how to do from what I made is basically figure out a way to make it relative to wherever it's currently at. Now, there's some code already in there that might help you do that. But for my particular game, I had it relative, but then I changed a few things, and now it comes from like the top left corner. So just to let you be aware of that. So you can figure out how to basically make it relative to wherever it's at on the screen. Just to let you know about that. Degree to rotate. We'll be doing a little bit of math, not too much math for this one. So moving distance was set to 50 by default. And I want to create a color list. Now this color list is going to basically just change the color. So basically I had red, green, light green, blue, light blue. These are values for the background color property in the CSS, or like in styles. So just to let you know about that in the style sheet. So I did gray, black, and then I did yellow, and then I did gold, and then brown, silver, orange, and then white. So now we have like a ton of different colors in there that it can loop through. You'll see why I use that in a minute. So now I want to create a degree list here. So I'm going to say degree list. Like I said, you can go to the GitHub link and just copy the variables if you want to as well. That should work. I'm just typing them in here, so you can skip through this part if you want, because this might take a while. So I'm going to start with negative 180, and I'm going to go up by 10 and go to positive 180. So basically it'll be, let's see, negative 180, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30. Might have to put some elevator music while I do this. 90, 80, 70, 40, 30, 20, 10. Wait, okay. 10. And then I'll just skip down here. Then I'll do 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, 80. And so after the degree list, and this is just used to get a random degree. I'm going to show you that in a minute as well. I also want to do a displacement list. Now, this displacement list, if you're familiar with physics, um, this displacement is just basically the vector quantity of like how much something moves in position is its position. Distance is the magnitude, but the displacement is basically, I could have called this distance list because in reality this here is distance and not displacement because we're not doing a vector based off of this. But I called it displacement anyway because I made a method that also was like calculate displacement, so I try to keep it consistent. But really this should be distance because it's like more of a magnitude, not really a vector, but whatever. So, you know, basically that's what I have there for that. That's all the variables. Because we're using jQuery, so we're not using document get element by ID. So now I'm gonna have a few functions here. Something I highly recommend. Something that I used for this was, let's see, jQuery. Here it is, jQuery code snippets. This one here. You can also search it here, and it should pop up right here. So you can see here, you type JQ, and it has a ton of things there for you, as well as showing you what each one does, just so that you can learn jQuery a tad bit faster while you're using it. So that's definitely something that you should probably get if you're starting out with jQuery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do function, start game. If you remember, start game here and here. So that's what this one is. And so what I want to do is I want to say JQ hide. You see how that pops up now. And then I want to say number sign if we're referencing an ID. And then if you're referencing a class, you use dot. I'm gonna use the number sign, and I want to be able to just hide the pregame because once it starts, we want to be able to hide that. I also want to hide the game over div because that shouldn't be displayed, and that should be a number sign as well. And I want to set that to hide. Okay, and then I want to also show the game container. So we'll do JQ show, and we'll do game container because that's what I want to show, as well as the dot status. So we'll do dot status, and then I also want to show the dot. So dot like that. And then basically the reason why I'm overriding the dot health here is because if we start the game and the game is over, we want to set it back to the default value of 3 here. Set the bad clicks back to 0. Then I also want to actually do JQ text set. And I want to say dot status. And this is basically going to set the text inside of here. And I want to basically set that text to template literal syntax, so not single quotes, but instead the backtick, which is below the tilde. It should be using a Windows keyboard. I think it's on the top left. That's what I'm using. So dot health. So for me, it's on the top left. I don't know about Mac or the other computer. So dot health, I'm gonna do $ curly brace dot health like that. So dot health, and then it'd be :3, and then bad clicks or user health. But if you're doing user health, you want to start with a higher number and decrease it. I'm gonna say bad clicks $ curly brace bad clicks, and that's it. So that just initializes everything for us. Now I want to do update status because we want to be able to update the status every time the user does something. So we'll do basically the same thing as here, actually the exact same thing. We're just showing we're just basically one of these two change via user driven event, then we want to basically update this and set the new text. So that's all that does. Now we want to have our game over function. So when the game is over, and I'm gonna just call this a flag. Um, a flag encoding is simply just like a boolean of 1 or 0 usually. Now I want to say clear interval. Now we didn't set the interval yet, but when we do, this will clear it so that when it's over, it doesn't keep like basically incrementing or like basically repeating like without stopping. And then now I actually want to do something similar to what I did up here. So I'm actually going to um, grab these, but I don't want to show the pregame, so I'm going to leave the pregame one out. I'm going to just copy these four. And here I just want to set game container and I want to hide it. I want to set game over div. I want to show it. And then I want to set the dot status. I want to hide it as well as the dot. So see, all of those are part of the whole game, and now I just want to show that game over container by itself. The pregame one's still hidden, so I don't have to show that again because that's only when the browser first loads the web page. So after that, I just simply want to say if flag is equal to 0, then that means that they lost, and if it's equal to a 1, then they win. So we'll say I want to say JQ attribute set, and then I'm going to say win or lose. This is that win or lose text. And then I'm going to say style. I want to set inside of there, I want to set color. I want to set it to red, like that. Don't forget to put your semicolon there. That's CSS. And so after that, I just simply want to say JQ text set. I want to say, once again, win or lose. I want to basically just set it to you win, like that. Or no, wait, this is the other one. It should be you lose, like that. Just to really let the user know you lost and rub it in their face. It's like, no. So basically now here I want to just say they won. This will be green. And it'll say you win, like that. And so that's it for that game over function. So now I want to do randomize color. Now this right here is kind of like what makes it more like dynamic. So we'll do randomize color. And so here I just want to say var color is equal to color list. And then you want to select the element from the color list. But the element that we want to select, we're going to basically get a random number. So we're going to say math floor, which basically returns the greatest integer less than or equal to the numerical equivalent, or its decimal pretty much. And then we want to say math.random times color list dot length. Now what this does is basically this gets a random between 0 and 1, and then we multiply that times the length of this color list, and then we floor it. So basically a random number between however many elements we have in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So a random number, between 1 and 13 or 0 and 13 or something like that. And that's the one that we return. So what I want to actually do now is I want to return this. I want to say return color. Like that. Oh my gosh. Like that. There we go. And that's it. So now I want to create a function of changing the color from that random color that we got. And oh, by the way, I almost forgot. If you get rid of these parentheses there, you might get an NAN if you log it in the console when you inspect the web page, and that's because you probably forgot your parentheses there. So just to be aware of that, because it basically NAN means not a number. So you want to definitely make sure you don't forget your parentheses there. I made that mistake on another game that I actually was making after I did this one. So just to let you be aware of that. So I want to simply change the background color. And so I'm going to say var new color is equal to randomized color. So that's going to give us a color. And I also want to say dot color because I want to get 2 random colors each time. We can do that by using the function twice. And then I want to say JQ attribute set. And then this is going to be the game container. And I want to set the style attribute. And I want to set it to basically having a background color. And I want to use template literal, so backticks here. I'm going to say background color colon. And then I'm going to say $ curly brace new color. And then semicolon. And then I actually want to do the same thing for the dot. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to copy this. I want to say dot, and then I'm going to say background color, and this is now going to be the dot color. So this just changes the background. And then I want to do, and now I put these in classes so it wouldn't overwrite the style tag, and I'd have to include other styles as well, because this overrides it. I didn't really want to do that. And so you probably could do like style dot background color here. I'm not really sure. But that's why I put some of those here inside of classes so it wouldn't overwrite some of the styles. So that it'll only just add on to it. So basically now what I want to do here is, well, that's pretty much it for this function. So let me get rid of the extra space there. And I want to actually create a function called getRandomDegree. Now this is going to be exactly similar to the the randomized color function. So I'm going to just take this one and put it here. And I want to basically just say degree. Change this to degree list. And then degree list here. And then just the degree. And we're done. And I want to make another one called getRandomDisplacement. Now this is basically going to choose a random like amount to move each time between those 3 random values that I had there. You can also do like an actual number. But I just did like 3 random values there, something quick. And I just called this displacement. This is the displacement list, as well as this one. And then this is displacement. And so then I had to calculate displacement. Now this is when we actually kind of bring everything together here. Well, you know what else? Yeah, let me move somewhere else. Alright guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. So now I want to basically create a function called calculate displacement. And I actually want this to take in a parameter, and this is going to be the direction. Now this is going to be a little math heavy here. So we're going to do JQ attribute, and I want to do attribute set. And I want this to be dot class, and I want to set the class to the value of dot active, and this should be in parentheses. I want to set this to dot active. You probably can hear those geese or goose in the background. Anyways, okay, so we're going to set the moving distance to get random displacement. That's going to give us a random, they're either going to give us 50, 100, or 150 each time. And I want to set a temporary x value, and I want to set that to the moving distance times, and then in parentheses I want to do math.cos. You don't have to put that in parentheses, but put it in there to make sure it gets done first before I multiply it, which it should, but nevertheless, just to be on the safe side. And degree to rotate, which is that variable we can access anywhere up here, which is that degree that we'll be constantly overwriting. And then I'm going to do a var temp y is going to be equal to moving distance times math dot, this should actually be sine, and then degree to rotate. What this basically does is if you have a right triangle, you have the hypotenuse being the moving distance, that's like the overall magnitude. You want to basically split it up into like x and y vectors so that we can actually like get the actual position and add it to whatever the position currently is so we can move it in the right direction. And so in order to do that, we had to multiply that times the cos or the sine, the cos being for the x coordinate and the sine being for the other one, in order to get those two values there. And so now what we want to do is say if direction is equal to 0, then we just simply want to rotate to the left. I actually didn't add rotate to this one. I kind of forgot to add it when I made it. I think I might try to fit that in here as well if I can, in this actual video here, but it's not in the source code, just to let you know. So I'm going to say new x position, which remember is that variable up here. I'm going to do is equal to the current x position minus, because we're going to the left, because the direction is to the left, because it's negative degrees, so we're rotating counterclockwise this way, like that. And so I want to set the y coordinate. Now I want to just do if degree to rotate is less than 90 and degree to rotate is greater than negative 90. And I simply want to do, that just means that it's either up or down. I want to say new y position is equal to current y position minus temp y if we're going up. Reason why is because now on the circle we're rotating 90, and 90 is right here, 0 is right here. So basically if it's above 90 it's going up, and so that's why we wanted to basically do minus, because it goes from like top to bottom, so if you add it actually goes down, so you want to subtract to go up. So if it's not that, then we just simply want to say else new y position is equal to current y position plus temp y. Now, and we're going to do an else here if the direction is not equal to 0 as well. So we're going to say else it's going to be rotate to the right. And I can also say x is also positive. And so then we'll do new x position is equal to the current x position plus temp x. And then here we do the same thing. And so basically, if you notice, I didn't check to see if it's equal to 180, negative 180, 0. That's done elsewhere. This is simply if we were able to call this method, and you'll see why in a minute. I didn't do the other checks in there. So after this function, now I just want to create the animate dot function. And we're going to use Jquery to animate this. And so what I want to do is say JQ. Actually, I'm just typing in manually here. So I'm going to say dot. I'm going to do animate like that. Let me put my semicolon there. And so we want to use square brackets. We want to say top. Then we're going to do template literal syntax of backticks plus equals, because that adds to whatever the relative. By putting plus equals there, now it's like basically appending it onto whatever, adding it to whatever the relative position already is, or the position. And then I just want to say new Y position like that. And then I want to say comma. And I want to say from the left, I want to say backticks plus equals $ curly brace, and then inside I want to do new X position. Now, when I did this before, it was kind of over to the left a ton, so I moved it over about like 200. I'm gonna do 250 this time, just to move it over. And so after that, the next thing that it takes is, for parameters, is the actual amount of time. And so I just did 1 second. And then after that, it actually takes a callback function if you want to pass that in. So basically, after it's done animating, you can do a callback. And so inside of here, I just want to say JQ attribute set. It's going to be the dot attribute of class. And I want to set the value to game dot, which, remember, I go here, is that steel dot. As you can see, it just gives it a smooth animation back instead of just basically just jumping back to a dot. It animates it back slowly a little bit. That's why I did that. Then I also want to set the current position for the next cycle. So current X position is now equal to the new X position. Plus 250, obviously. Not plus 250. And the current Y position is equal to the new Y position. So now we can like have that as current, and then we continue the cycle. Later, I want to do the calculate new location function. This is where we actually determine like if we call this function here or not. You'll see why in a second. So I want to say degree to rotate is equal to get random degree. So it gets the random degree from between -180 and 180. I want to say if degree to rotate is equal to 90. Then I want to say new X position is equal to the current X position plus the moving distance, because that's adding it to the moving distance. Then I want to say the new Y position is equal to the current Y position. That's because if it's equal to 90, that means it's horizontal. And so that means that we're going left and right. So this Y position stays the same, but the X just moves in relation to this distance here. And then I want to say else if degree to rotate is equal to -90. Then I want to do new X position is equal to current X position minus the moving distance. So now we're going to the left. And I want to set new Y position equal to the current for that cycle. We still have to set the Y position to the current in order to keep it, I guess, in memory for the next cycle in order for it to work properly. And so now I want to say else if degree to rotate is equal to 0, meaning that it's up and down. Now the new X position will be equal to the current X position. And the new Y position will be equal to the current Y position. And then it'll be minus the moving distance because we're going up. And then we'll say else if the degree to rotate is equal to 180, or the degree to rotate is equal to -180, because 180 -180 should be in the exact same spot. That means we're going down. So now we're going to say current X position and then set the new Y position to go down. So the current Y position plus the moving distance. So this is for like the cardinal direction. So basically things that we don't have to split up to get the X and Y vector because it's not at a diagonal type of angle pretty much. So that's what that is. And then we say else. So if it's none of these cardinal directions, we say else. If the degree to rotate is less than 0. Because remember, it shouldn't be equal to n because we already checked that case. So if it's less than 0, we want to calculate the displacement. We want to pass in a flag of 0. If it's greater than 0, meaning it's to the right, then we want to just calculate and pass in a flag of 1. Remember that flag up here? Or that direction? That's what this is. So if it's, oh wait, hold on. Calculate displacement. Oh yeah, so if 0 actually, that means that it's not flag, but direction, but I just basically, if it's 0, rotate to the left, and if 1, it goes to the right, and that's because here, if it's less than 0, that means it's rotating to the left, so we pass in at 0, or if it's greater than 0, then it's to the right, so we pass in a 1. And then right after that, after we check all those cases, we call the animate dot method that we made previously. To animate the dot, to change it, translate it, and then I want to say, well, this didn't quite work, but it was in the source code that I had, so I'm going to just put it, about it, the offset was so I'm going to say attribute get. So I'm just, it basically did set, but I'm going to just get rid of this piece here. Then I'm going to just say offset x. I'm going to say is less than 0. And then I'll just take this here and say, or the offset is of y is less than 0. And that means that it's like off the screen to either up or to the left. So then I basically said jQuery attribute set, and I just set the dot. Like I said, this doesn't work when I tested it, but like I said, you're free to figure out why it doesn't work and actually fix it. I just made this kind of in a jiffy. So, I mean, I wasn't really trying to make sure everything about it was like professional grade level. But this is just more of a teaching type of thing, just to teach how I like to do certain things in JavaScript and to better your skills. So there we go. I just basically gave a hard-coded value there. Something that you don't want to do, but I was just letting you know about that. So now I want to actually move the dot. So we're outside of this function now, so I want to go to another one. And here I want to actually move it. So in order to move it, because this is what's going to get called inside of our set interval, I want to simply change the color, which remember just gets that random color and changes it each time. And then sets the new location for the dot, calculate new location. And so then it just runs this one, which either sets the position here or goes here if it's diagonal pretty much, which does some more math, which basically sets it and everything. So that's how that works. Now at the very bottom here, we want to actually initialize this. So we want to say JQ doc ready like that. So the document is ready. And we simply want to, meaning that everything's loaded in the DOM, the HTML markup. And we simply want to do JQ hide. I just simply want to hide the game container because remember, to start off, we want to basically, we want to like start off with just like the start game screen showing by itself. So we want to hide the dot status. And then we also want to hide the game over div. Now, when we hide the game container, it automatically actually hides the dot for us because it's inside of the game container. It's a child element of it, so you don't have to worry about that. Then I want to give the start button an on click, so I can say JQ on like that. And I can say start button, which remember is the ID of the start button. I want to simply put click in here, and I want to just simply do start game. That. And then below there, I want to set the interval ID equal to set interval to move dot, which is the handler, and then the actual time for each increment, and that's 1.5 seconds. And so now I simply want to do the same thing for the restart button. So we just put RE in front of that, same exact name. And actually for the restart button as well, I want to set the current position because it's not by default anymore because they're restarting it. So I want to set the current position once again to like some hard-coded value here. And after that, I just simply want to do the game container. So we'll do JQ1 again. This time it's the game container. This is also going to have a click listener. And this one's going to basically do bad clicks plus plus, meaning that the bad clicks increase, and then each time that we increase one, we want to update the status. Remember, we're updating that text. That just lets the user know how many clicks they have, they did, or whatever. And then if bad clicks is equal to 10, we actually want to say game over. Oops. Game over. And we want to pass in a 0 because they lost. And then basically, we want to set it one more JQ on, and that's going to be the dot on click. And then inside of there, we're just going to simply do if E, not target, not, we pass in the event parameter. E dot target dot ID is equal to dot, just to make sure it's equal. And I want to do dot health. And I want to say minus minus, or minus equal to 1, or dot health is equal to dot health minus 1. To decrease it by 1, then we want to once again update the status. Then if dot health is equal to 0, meaning that the dot now is like destroyed pretty much or whatever, and then we can just say dot health is game over is equal to 1 so that they won. And then that's it. So I think actually it's just simply moving faster than what I thought it was moving. When I did it earlier, I was clicking it like, so I don't know, maybe I just cut that part out. But nevertheless, you can see here, that's how it works. So hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section. I'm gonna have another one coming out as well tomorrow or sometimes, and it's gonna be like a game that you're probably familiar with as well. So basically, until then, see you next time.